money, perhaps the biggest. The second is expertise. The third is ideas and ingenuity. We don't have and let me explain that. I learned a long time ago, and through 34 years, serving on active duty in the Marine Corps, as much as as proud as I am to be an American, we don't have a corner on the market on smarts. There are things that other nations do in terms of exploration that we just don't. We either don't do it because we didn't have to, and they did. If you look at engine technology, for example, one of the reasons that we struggle right now with heavy lift propulsion, we would love to have the capability of doing a LOX kerosene or LOX RP propulsion system. Anybody in here from I know there's somebody from Aerojet. Anybody from Pratt & Whitney? Okay. I mean, you ought to talk to these guys. That's a challenge. We can do it, but we have not asked our industry to do it on a grand scale yet, but we have to do that. There are a lot of reasons. We can use LOX hydrogen. We can use LOX RP. There are a lot of really good reasons for wanting to go to LOX RP for the nation. And not just, NASA can't do things for NASA anymore. The fiscal constraints under which we live today, everybody listen to this, okay? Things are not going to get markedly better financially in the foreseeable future. Now, that may be bad news. Let's face fiscal reality. The reason we're struggling, and I don't even know if I'm coming to work next Monday. I'm coming to work on Monday. I don't know whether I'm going to be able to stay. It's because the nation is having to come to grips with reality. We have known this, probably for decades, but we just kept kicking the can down the road. We can solve this problem. We will solve this fiscal problem. Not many of us in this room are going to be involved in that. We've got to live with it and make do. But when I say we are going to Mars, we are going to explore, and we're going to do it incrementally, step by step by step. Don't just stop thinking about grand things that we're going to do it in one fell leap. We did that with Apollo. But Apollo was destined to go to the moon, and that was it. And it had an overarching purpose, and that was to beat the Soviets. As much as we love to glory in that hour for this nation, I don't know that we would have done Apollo had it not been the challenge of beating the Soviets. Today, it's in our human DNA. That's why I think we're going to do it. And that's why I think we're going to struggle through this, because every one of you sitting in this room wants to explore. You wouldn't be here if you didn't. Every one of you sitting in this room, even if you're representing a company and it's your job to be in this room, you're probably not in that company if you didn't believe in exploration. So we're going to do this. If we don't lead, someone else will. And there are a number of international partners that we have that really want to do this. So we've got to be smart. We've got to take risks. We can argue all day about my trust in industry. We have to. I have to have a reliable industry partner in whom I can believe and I can trust, because we are not going to have the fiscal wherewithal to be able to explore and provide access simultaneously. Not in my lifetime. I know not in my period of time as the administrator. So we need to become realistic. We need to be honest with each other. We need to fight and fuss the way that I have people doing at my headquarters about how we do it. We can do it. There are thousands. Literally, the two rocket guys here will tell you, there are literally thousands of ways to leave this planet. We just have to decide how we want to do it and get on with it. Follow up.
What did you learn from ISS in terms of maintaining such a massive coalition of countries that have such divergent interests and keeping everyone focused to keep the mission on track?
The question was, what did we learn from ISS about maintaining cohesion? I'm using some words you didn't use. Maintaining cohesion among very diverse partners with very different interests. I think, and John Grunstall's down here, John, and anybody else can help if you want. I think the biggest thing we learned is that when humans come together for a common cause, what they accomplish is unbelievable. No one can predict what human beings can accomplish when they are either forced or by choice put their differences aside and look at what they have in common. I've told people my story about my last flight on the space shuttle. When I was called, I was here at NASA headquarters as the assistant deputy administrator, and you know, one of my mentors at the time said, "Hey, we want you to go back to Houston and command a shuttle mission." I said, "That's great. What is it?" And he said, "Well, it's going to be the first joint Russian-American mission." I said, "Forget it. I don't have any desire to go fly with any Russians. I'm a Marine. I don't want to do that." And very calmly he said, "Settle down. Why don't you think about it? We've got two guys who are going to be here in town, Sergei Krikalev and Vladimir Titov, and why don't you have dinner with them tonight and see what you think?" And in one evening over dinner, talking about families, talking about kids, talking about our dreams and aspirations, and talking about things that we had in common as opposed to what divided us, I went back the next day and I said, I'm ready. Let's go do this. So it is having people of common aspirations and dreams and visions come together who think about how we can do something as opposed to what makes us different and why we can't do it. That's been the key to the International Space Station. And I think when people talk about the Nobel Peace Prize for the International Space Station, that's been bandied about every once in a while. I think it's incredible. You have right now 15 member nations coming together, 250 miles out in space, with all kinds of stuff going on down here on this planet, where militaries of the member nations are not always cooperating with each other and are sometimes on different sides of the issue, and yet we are combined and united in exploration, which is what the International Space Station is. That's the lesson that we should learn from. Yes?
John Bolden, would you comment on the intriguing technology that Changi-As is working on?
Oh, Graham, I will try. Okay? The question is, can I comment on the Vasimer engine that Dr. Franklin Chang-Diaz is developing? And I will try. Franklin is a dear friend of mine. Franklin and I, we actually interviewed this. I want to make this longer than you want. Because this is a phenomenal story. If you don't know Franklin Chang-Diaz, Dr. Franklin Chang-Diaz, very quickly, born and raised in San Jose, Costa Rica. At the age of 7, told his dad he was coming to the United States to be an astronaut. His dad said, "Forget it." Said, "Go back to school." 10 years later, graduating from high school, he said, "It's time for me to go to the United States." His dad said, "For what?" He said, "Because I'm going to become an astronaut." And they went back and forth. His father finally gave up, said, "Okay, look, I have some friends, engineers in Hartford, Connecticut. Here's a one-way ticket to Hartford, Connecticut, $50 in cash, and a note. The note said, 'This is my son Franklin, about whom I've spoken. He doesn't speak English, but that's okay. Humor him for as long as you can, and then send him back home, and I'll reimburse you for the ticket.'" So that's how Franklin came to the U.S. Almost flunked out of the University of Connecticut the first year. Taught himself English, went on to graduate with honors, went to MIT, earned a PhD in plasma physics. Today, he is considered to be one of the world's foremost plasma physicists. Interviewed with me for the astronaut program in 1980. We were selected together, flew our first flight together, flew my last flight together. An incredible individual, a hero in Costa Rica even today. Has a company called Ad Astra that is developing a Vasimer engine. And it is essentially, I don't want to get this wrong, it's like an ion engine. Right now I think he's using xenon. It could use hydrogen, argon, anything. And it essentially heats up the propellant as it goes through around the engine. It's used to cool, we're talking about a fusion reaction, okay? So nothing you can use to contain it, so he flows the fuel around it and creates a gaseous jacket. He preheats and gets the molecules going, and then it comes back around and it's used as a fuel. Theoretically, it's a constantly accelerating engine that theoretically, again,